What is up, guys? It is Simba here, and League Racing has finally arrived on F1 24. That is right, the regularly scheduled League Racing content is finally arriving back on the channel, and we're ready to do it all over again in WOR. And I'm very excited to get this on the way because, as you can see on screen, is the tier that we're in. I showed this in the last team race in Brazil, and it looks like a very competitive grid. So once again, it's going to be quite an effort to make our name in this tier. And here is the calendar for the season. Australia is the opening round, and we're going to go all the way to Suzuka. If you're excited for the new season, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more League Racing content, because I'm very excited to finally get this on the way, as it has been quite a gap between the videos with League Racing in it. So here we are in qualifying, ready for our first lap.
Why is there a queue? We're ghosted, lads. Oh my word.
We don't think it's going to stay dry for much longer. The rain could come at any moment, so watch out. Okay, dries seem like the best tyre for now.
If there's one thing I hate, it's these bloody car parks, man.
And already you can hear me complaining about the car parks, as this session is simply a one-shot qualifying. One and done, because rain is imminent, so we need to nail it. Turn 1, down to 5th gear, beautifully done, just about within track limits. I was actually really happy with the two corners, but I forgot to open DRS, but we spot the black box at turn 3, down to 3rd gear, kiss the apex on the right hand side, and making our way through turn 4, carrying as much minimum speed through the corner as possible. And despite not opening DRS, it's been a very good opening part of the lap. Turn 6 is my biggest weakness in practice, as it's very easy to invalidate, but we absolutely nail it, making sure it is within the yellow line and not the white line, because Australia is judged with the yellow line. With a useless BBC notification at the top of the screen, we head towards the chicane. Flicking it through the left and the right part wasn't exactly as committed on the curb, as you can actually cut it quite a bit way more, but so far it's looking good as lap times are starting to come in. I believe it's a 16.3 for pole position at the moment, as we come through the final sector, flat out through the right-hander. But going into the penultimate corner, we get it completely wrong. We bounce on the curb, we lose the rear end, and that has completely ruined the session.
Oh, that's not even going to be a 15 either. Fuck off, man.
And just like that, that's it. That's game over. It rained just after this. We tried to do a second lap, but it was ultimately useless. And that is us in P14. One thing I will say is I'm glad I wasn't last, but it's very disappointing because the laps they weren't clean by everyone. I think people could do slightly quicker, but the fact that it was just the one lap, it really put the pressure on. And I will say, we are in multiplayer cars because there hasn't been a patch for the cars, the F1 cars, to be equal fully. So we have to use the F1 World cars, and we're ghosting because there's a slipstream problem in qualifying. So I wanted to clear those things up, but we've got some work to do because P14 is not where you want to be.
Right, let's do this then. See how far we can go, and see what happens.
So here we go then, time for the start of the race. We're going to be starting on the hard tyres, which I think was a very popular choice amongst the grid, and we're going to see what we can do from 14th on the grid. And you heard me say, we'll see how far we can go. Let's see what happens. 5 red lights for the Australian Grand Prix, and lights are out, and we are underway for WOR's 19th season in League Racing, and it's a pretty decent start. We get our way past Jesus Predestinato, as through turns 1 and 2 there's a bit of debris flying about already, so that means someone up ahead has got damage. But we're having a look at CPI Fraser round the outside. In at turn 3, we're going to have a look, we're going to see if we can draw alongside him, but unfortunately that doesn't quite happen. But we're going to just try and keep it clean on the opening lap. As you can see, we just make a bit of contact with Fraser, and going through turn 6, and yeah, nothing much happened there. So thankfully we've kept things intact. But as you can see, Tech Brutal, who was quite involved in the mini-series a few weeks ago, along with a ghost car of FRT Harvey, is going slowly. So that's 2 places. Tech making his debut in WR Tier 2, He's got damage already, so it's been a disastrous first lap for him. And for us, on the other hand, we go up the inside, and that is us up into P11, which is quite an encouraging start, as there's even more contact going on just in front of us. So it's all kicking off on the opening lap, and we're right in the fray of it.
Right, that's not a bad start.
Okay,
Right in the
DRS is now
fray of it now.
available.
So on to lap 2, DRS is enabled, and you heard me say that we've made a good start to this race. We've made up 3 places, and we're going to see if we can go any further in this race. And we might have an opportunity here as Alpha Gully and Fraser going side by side. We're going to try and make it 3 wide.
Oh, yay.
Which doesn't quite work out for us, and now it allows Schumacher on the mediums up the inside. We go wide, and we end up conceding the place.
That's it! Oh my god, Schumacher.
Okay, be careful with the front wing. You've taken some minor damage.
Where are you going, mate? Why are you flying off to Narnia there?
And we get damage. Not even on lap 3. And we've got damage, which is fantastic. So this is not going well.
Good.
And another thing is, we've lost quite a way to the cars in front. The top 8 have completely run off. You can see Flo and Schumacher in between the laps have passed us. So we're down in P13, and Schumacher is going to try and make some progress on the mediums.
Oh my god, Schumacher.
Okay, clear.
God, I'm not looking forward to racing this guy at all this season, I swear.
Now that
Absolutely
is a terrible move. Absolutely terrible. I don't know how else to describe it.
What I was worried
What's he
about
doing? I remember I said it before we started this race. I said it on stream. I was a bit concerned about Schumacher being just behind us, because he has a bit of a reputation for not the best racecraft. I'll put it as nicely as I can as we get a warning for track limits. The front wing damage is hurting us through the right-handers, and unfortunately it's not going to help us make any progress as Predestinato goes up the inside. WR Jerome also follows through, and we're still scrapping away here, and this is really frustrating. But back to Schumacher, he's got a bit of a reputation for not being the cleanest of racers.
Honestly, why? I don't get it, man. Why is everyone just going for it? Train's broken.
And that means anytime we get near him for the majority of the season, it might not be a good thing, as you can hear me in the background being frustrated at the fact that we're just scrapping away for literally nothing at this point. You can see that Schumacher's ran away from us, despite taking out Flo as well. And the thing is, the top 8 have completely separated themselves from the rest of the field, and it's really frustrating because we're scrapping away as if it's the final lap of the race, and we're fighting for P12. You know, this is not like AEC where, you know, you can get points for 12th. You know, there'll be like 3 points on offer. But, you know, this is WR. Top 10 score points as we get our second warning for track limits through turn 6. So, yeah, it's really frustrating. And this damage, we're going to have to carry on with it, because I don't fancy pitting for a new set of tyres, because we'll just be absolutely nowhere. And unfortunately, that is warning number 3. And on lap 7, we get our 3-second time penalty. Australia's a very easy track to get warnings and penalties, and unfortunately, yeah, with the damage, yeah, it's not gonna help our case. And now we've caught up to NLR Daddlepad, who's been struggling with connection this entire race, by the way, and yeah, he's found himself in AI, so we need to pass him as soon as we can so we don't lose too much time as we go through the final sector. We're going to send it up the inside and just try and just get this car out of the way, but we lock on with him with the AI car. Jerome has a through goes Hamilton moment as he sweeps around the outside of both of us, and he's up into P11 now. We let TF10 Flo come back through, and he's making quite a decent recovery considering he just got taken out a few laps ago. But right now, you know, 7 laps in, it's feeling like a long race already, but it's still a long way to go as Daddlepad leaves the session. I think he's finally disconnected. I think he finds his way back in at some point. But yeah, at the moment, very frustrating. You know, pace felt good in practice, but unfortunately we're not really being able to show it just because we're just caught in all the crossfires here. We're caught in the carnage in the midfield, and that's exactly what happens when you do not get qualifying right. So we're paying the price for another piss poor qualifying. As onto the end of lap 8, we're behind Jerome. We're keeping up with Flo as well, which isn't too bad, but Jerome flies off through the right-hander, and that has given us a lifeline in this race. The safety car has come out at the end of lap 8.
Make sure to keep it positive. Right, drop your speed.
Oh, thank God.
Too low, and we're going to risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
Thank God for that.
So a bit of gratitude and a sigh of relief later, we find ourselves in the pit lane at the end of lap 9, and we're going to repair the front wing and put on a set of medium compound tyres. I stayed out because we would have been on the Delta if we pitted the moment the safety car came out, and it didn't really lose anything. We only lost the 1 place, so it's not too bad. And the main thing is, now we can actually drive with a full front wing on our car now, and we're going to see if we can try and make some progress. You know, we've gone a bit, you know, we've been slowly sliding backwards since we got the damage on lap 2. So we're going to see if we could try and fight for some points here, because this race is not over yet.
Right,
Turn the position immediately.
What?
We're going to get penalised.
How's that
There's
happening
no
then? How
overtaking
was
during
he
the safety
going
car
ahead?
period.
That's a load of bollocks.
But under the safety car, somehow Daddlepad pulled alongside us, and he's just overtaken us, which I'm not very happy about.
How's that even possible? Alright then. Sick.
And yeah, how's that even possible, I say, in complete outrage. But we don't have really much time to complain about it. The race is restarted and underway again, and we just have to get on with it. And that is simply how it is. No one's going to wait for you in this game, especially at this level. You have to be ruthless with some of these things, and unfortunately, I don't know how that happened, but we have to just carry on.
How have we dropped so far back already?
Okay,
How's that even
stewards have
possible?
now enabled
And again, I'm not
DRS
very
now
happy.
online.
You can tell that the frustration was starting to bubble up throughout this race, because now our job of getting on with it is going to be a lot harder, as we've dropped time to the top cars again, as we go for a very, very half-hearted move there on Fern. Never really looked like it was going to materialise. Tech takes full advantage of it, pounces on the opportunity, and we've dropped another place. We're down in P15 now, and that's our 4th warning of the race, which is fantastic. But I did say on stream, I think you'll just hear me in the background about now. You'll hear me say that it was a very half-hearted move. So I'm not exactly mad at Fern at all. We didn't really put our car alongside him there for the move to be on. So we give ourselves a second chance at the end of the chicane onto the final sector now. This time, it's not a half-hearted move. We go up the inside and we gain the place. He tries to switch back, as meanwhile, Daddlepad, who's reconnected, by the way, I completely forgot to mention that, when he overtook us under the safety car, he's had a bit of a moment, a side-by-side moment there with another car in front of us. So it's essentially like the first stint again, where everyone is scrapping away and we're doing it for nothing. You know, the points are down the road. We're doing this for no reason, and it's only going to carry on to lap 15. As you can see, it's nearly 2 by 2 going through one of the fastest parts of the racetrack, and this time, compared to lap 2, we're going to back off and see if we can pick up a good exit at the exit of this right-hander, and unfortunately, we can't quite do it because they're still side by side. This is not really a place to be overtaking people in the last sector because it's so narrow. If you're the third car here, like we were just through those corners, you're effectively screwed because you can't do anything through there. And as a result, we have to sit behind. But are we going to try and pass Predestinato down the main straight? No, we don't. We decide to think better of it through the first 2 corners. We're going to try and get a good run at the exit of turn 2 and now on to turn 3. He opens his DRS a little bit late, so we're going to try and go up the inside, going into turn 3. Late braking, there's a bit of contact, but we give him the space on the exit. But through turn 4, we try to squeeze him out there. I think We did turn in on him a little bit there, but it is a place gained in this race. You can see that a few cars around us, including ESV Bobbitt as well, has a penalty as well. So penalties are slowly starting to stack up now. And yeah, so that's probably the only way we're going to try and get points in this race. I believe this is a fight for P10. I think, as we get a very silly warning. Another silly warning there through the chicane. We're just turning far too early, and that is warning number 5. And you can hear me in the background saying that we need to be careful. Otherwise, we're going to get 6 seconds, and that will be game, set, and match out of any hopes of getting points, because there are some cars just around us that don't have a single penalty at all. So we'll have to bear that in mind. Next up is Daddlepad. He's on the hards, and obviously they'll be better towards the end of the race, but right now the mediums are the much quicker tyre, and let's see what happens. So Tech somehow doesn't put in the wall at turn 2, and now it's nearly 3 wide, and again it was scrapping away for 1 point as Gully stays ahead. Daddlepad goes up the inside of Tech through turn 4. He gets through. We try and set up a switchback, but we almost bin it and end our own race. As you can hear me, just really relieved that we didn't put it in the wall. And we're going to see if we can try and pass the AERT driver. We're using the battery, and we're going to see if we can try and make something happen going in towards the chicane. But I think he's using as well, along with Gully, and Daddlepad's going to be in big trouble here. And again, we're going to try and sit back, pick our chances. Daddlepad forces Tech a bit wide through the first part, and through the second part, we have the inside line thanks to a better exit. And up the inside we go, going into the right-hander. Evo collected Darren here in SLR on F123, but this time it's a clean move and we get through, and that's probably one of the cleanest moves you'll see in the whole race as we are up into P12. So slowly but surely we are making progress, and there is a fight for P10 on track at least, but we need to extend the gap by another 3 seconds to lock in the final points paying position. So we're not giving up yet. We're going to give it everything until the checkered flag falls. That is one of the fundamentals in league racing, as I think Lurch is just ahead. I think he had a spin earlier as Gully just about saves it through turn 1 as Schumacher gets himself a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane at the end of lap 18. He goes wide, does Gully, through turn 1. We hit the back of him through turn 2 as we have so much more momentum through the corner. But we're going to pick the outside line this time. Going into turn 3, can we get the move done? We get a bit of a squeeze onto the curb, but now through turn 4.
And you've just turned in like I'm not there. Like, come on now. What is this, man? What a joke.
And at this very point, the head is gone. My head is gone.
Honestly.
I think the frustration's finally boiling over, and as a result of that, Bobbers and Predestinato,
Honestly,
who were behind us, are now ahead of us. So we've gained absolutely nothing in that exchange through turns 3 and 4, so we're going to have to do it all over again. And the frustrating thing is for us is, we're racing these guys for track position, because they also have 3-second penalties. As we get past Bobbitt, I think he had damage there. So he's still soldiering on. I think he said after the race, he got damage from lap 18. So Bobbitt's wanting to get to the end of this race because he knows there might be a point or two up for grabs as we pass him on the first straight, but we don't pass Predestinato on this DRS straight. We're going to wait for a best moment to make a move, because racing IQ is quite important, especially if you're fighting for points. But finally, I've got to mention, we're in the top 10 now. It took us 20 laps, 20 grueling laps, but we have found ourselves in a points paying position, albeit with a 3-second penalty, and there's a prospect of 6 coming up if we're not careful. But we get a good run out of the fast chicane on lap 21, and we were just being a bit patient with the move, and by the time we get to this right-hander, we are up into P9, and that's quite encouraging. You know, it's been a long race, very frustrating, lots of unnecessary battles as Lurch has left the session and retired on track. But we're finally in clean air, and we can actually push into the clean air that we've been desperately craving for the whole race. And maybe we can catch Daddlepad. We've caught quite a bit on him on this lap. He's got a 3-second penalty, so maybe there might be a decent prospect at points.
Oh my god, never mind. Never fucking mind. Oh my god.
Well, not anymore. We've absolutely bottled it. We've gone off at the fast chicane. I've never made that mistake before in my life. And the one time we make it, it's really costly, and that was race over. You know, we never really caught up to the DRS train again. There was a prospect of a puncture, as you can see the bottom right icon there. The tyres hit over 80%, and you can see Gully lost out because of a puncture. So we're up to P12, but it doesn't change the fact that we don't score points, and it's a very, very frustrating opener. And yeah, we just had the bitter disappointment again of looking at the screen and knowing that we didn't score any points once again. And yeah, we finished quite a way off, 25 seconds off the race winner, NLR Spicer. And I will be honest, in all honesty, I was very, very upset after this race. I'm going to be honest, very upset, because I was looking forward to this race. I felt like we had a decent pace in qualifying. We didn't get that right, and we were just stuck in the train of carnage for the majority of the race, and then we just made one error and we just ruined it by ourselves. For context, TF10 Flo got P3, so he clearly avoided the carnage while we didn't, and it cost us dear, and we start the season with no points. So yeah, tough pill to swallow. The next race is going to be in Austria, where we're going to try and bounce back and get ourselves off the board, because I feel like we can fight for points consistently this season. We just need to make sure we put things together. But guys, get subscribed for more content. Hope you enjoyed this one, and as always, I will see all of you in the next one.